Good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If you could all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move on to public comment, I wrote something this morning I just wanted to read to everyone. So before we continue, I just wanted to say something. It's okay for people to disagree on issues like this. In fact, I'd be surprised if everyone agreed on them. Data centers bring up a lot of questions, and people are going to weigh in the benefits and the concerns differently. Some people see jobs, tax revenue, and investments in the future of our county. Others are worried about water, power consumption, land use, and what these projects could mean for the community they've spent their whole entire lives in. Those are all legitimate things to think and worry about. What concerns me is somehow quickly we can assume that someone who disagrees with us must have bad motives. I don't think that's true. Most people who have spoken on this issue care deeply about this county. They just have different ideas about what is best for it. We don't have to agree with one thing or the other, but we should be able to respect one another. That's how these decisions are supposed to work. People should be able to come in to this podium, state their opinion, and know they are being heard, whether they're for a project, against it, or somewhere in the middle. At the end of the day, our responsibility is to listen, consider all the information in front of us, and make the decision what we believe is right. Not everybody is going to agree with that decision, and that's okay. What I hope we can do is we can continue this conversation respectfully and remember that having a different opinion doesn't mean someone is the enemy. It just means they're looking at the issue through a different lens. At this time, is there any public comment? Public comment is limited to 3 minutes and should be broad in nature and not related to any agenda items. Go ahead. It's going to be the little, for everyone here, it's going to be the little red button at the bottom of the microphone.
Okay, do I need to use this microphone?
Yes, please. Nope, you got to use the microphone, but if you want to use a teacher voice, that's fine as well.
Okay,
And then just state your name for the record. I know your name, but
push the red button.
yep, you're
Okay.
good to go.
My name is Karen Hansen. I've lived in Fallon since 1975, taught school for 30 years, and retired here. I'm married to Chris, whose family came and has lived here since the early 1900s. Data centers have become a concern for small-town residents across the country, and hopefully Fallon and Churchill County will rethink this project. I have concerns that I believe will affect our community in a negative way. There would be a strain on public resources, such as our volunteer fire department, law enforcement, hospital, schools, and much more. Will they receive tax exemptions, or will they pay taxes? Will more jobs really be created, or is that a false assumption? Our limited water is such a valuable resource. The amount of water needed to cool these centers is tremendous. Is there any idea what the water usage may be, and where will the needed water come from? Won't excessive pumping of groundwater threaten our water table and even dry out shallow wells? The massive amounts of power required will likely cause more expensive utility bills and possibly power outages, not to mention the 24-hour noise from the constant humming and light pollution throughout the night. In 1992, my husband and I were part of a committee to stop the Supermax federal prison from being located in Churchill County. Some residents thought it should be placed here for the county to grow and prosper, but it did not come, and we have continued to prosper without it and the negativity it would have brought with it. I hope this data center, after thorough study, does not happen either. The negative aspects of a data center far outnumber any positive ones. I'm not a science or an environmental expert, just a person who loves living in Fallon and really appreciates what Mayor Ken Tedford and the county has done to make Fallon a wonderful place to live. We are a thriving and growing community and do not need the unknowns of placing a data center here. I hope that you talk to experts who have seriously studied the impact on small communities like mine. And thanks a bunch.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Just real quick, there's no applications for any data centers right now. This meeting is to talk about how our community feels about it, how we want to address it, and how we want to go forward in the future. We, as far as I know, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit later, we do not have any applications for any data centers in Churchill County currently. We are trying to get ahead of this before we get there. So, is there any other public comment?
Well, make sure it's to the item.
Yeah, it's got to be broad in nature, not related to the agenda items.
So no data center?
No data centers. We have the agenda items for that. She did. I didn't know if it was going to be data centers. That's why I'm reiterating that. The actual agenda items, we'll talk about data centers then.
But tell her public comment is still good.
Yeah, her public comment is still fine, still good, still valid. I'm just reiterating to the whole entire audience that we have these two, the appointments A and B. Those are for data centers. We'll have public comment at those times. Okay. Is there any public comment? Again, broad in nature, not related to the agenda items. No, you're fine. Okay, can I get a verification of the posting of the agenda, please?
Tara Adams for the record. The agenda was posted on the 11th day of June, 2026, between the hours of 2 and 5 p.m. at all Sure. I'll reiterate. Tara Adams for the record. The agenda was posted on the 11th day of June, 2026, between the hours of 2 and 5 p.m. at all locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes.
Thank you, Tara. We'll move to our first appointment. Appointment 5A, consideration and possible action, discussion regarding data centers. And with that, I'll turn it over to our interim county manager, Joe Sanford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for coming. I want to start today by outlining the purpose of today's workshop. As Commissioner Ghetto mentioned, we do not currently have any active applications for the construction of a data center here in Churchill County. Instead, Churchill County has always endeavored to ensure development is well-planned and suitable for our community. Last year, the county completed a thorough zoning and land use planning review with the intention of moving industrial activity further outside of the Fallon Residential Center towards the I-80 corridor, the 40-mile desert, and then along 95 near Kennemetal. So today we're here to perform information gathering on the potential for data centers in Churchill County. This is a question that's critical for our local community, the state, and our national infrastructure. To help ensure the Commission receives accurate information, we've invited Tom Burns with the Governor's Office of Economic Development to provide information to the Commission as well as to all of the public members here today. Again, there's no current application, so I'd ask that we listen to this information as it's intended to be presented from an informational standpoint. We will then take that information to provide to the Commission and to staff a way to move forward for Churchill County.
Thank you, Joe. The floor is all yours.
Right. Well, Commissioners, thank you for having me today. As stated, I'm Tom Burns. I'm the Director of the Governor's Office of Economic Development. I've been asked to come to you and comment on data centers. I want to start off by saying that this is not the state coming forward and imposing its will upon anybody. This is a local decision. I respect the people of Churchill County and the people of the city of Fallon and the decisions they want to make around their own economic outcome. I'm just here to provide experience that I've had in the last 3.5 years operating in this space. A couple of misconceptions, I think, that I'd like to clarify. When data centers came out and they really started being built in Nevada, I'm going to say probably 15 or 20 years ago. And at that time, the technology that kept those places cool involved essentially evaporative cooling type systems. They have evolved since then, and so most data centers that are being brought forward now have a closed loop system. I have data from Story County, from their water authority, that says right now that what the data centers they use between 1/10 of an acre foot and 100 acre feet a year. And I want to reiterate to you that you have the authority to operate and allow the data centers, should you choose, that meets your needs and meet the environmental needs of your county to come forward. So this body has the right to say, Mr. Data Center or Ms. Data Center, you're using too much water, you're going to have to come back and find a different way to keep you cool, or you find it to be appropriate. I understand they are significant users of power. There's no doubt about that. We have not let ratepayers in any of our communities share in the power costs of any additional power required by the data centers. They have to contribute to your local power authority to do the construction around the necessary infrastructure to bring the power to the center, and they're responsible for upfront for the cost of those centers, because it's not appropriate, we agree, that the residents of any community should have to pay for the construction or additional cost to power that their cost. There are a lot of jobs that happen at the beginning. During the construction of the data centers, most of these buildings are about $1 billion. They employ a lot of electricians, a lot of people that work in the HVAC world. Those jobs are going to be around for about 24 months. That's about how long it takes, plus or minus, to build the data center. After that, the jobs typically, depending on the data center, range from about 50 to 75 or 80 folks. Most of those jobs pay well over $100,000 a year. And so you're not talking about people that would be seeking Medicaid or indigenous care. You're talking about people that have great health insurance, that have great wages within their job. One of the things that I think that I respect the environment and the culture that you live in when you live in rural Nevada. I'm a big fan. And as I talk to my friends in economic development throughout the state in rural Nevada, I also know they don't want me bringing them a manufacturing plant with 3,000 jobs in it, right? It changes where you grew up, it changes where you're going to be. You live here on purpose because it's a great way of life. It's a great community. But I also know that I grew up in Nevada, and I also know that many of our rural counties are dependent a lot on agriculture and commodities. And they tend to ebb and flow in price. And as they ebb and flow in price, the local communities either are benefit or they suffer. And if you have a data center, they are large property taxpayers, and that adds ballast to your rolls, to your revenue rolls. So when things are a little rough, as they sometimes are in the agricultural community or in the mining community, you have somebody that adds constant ballast to your property tax revenue, because those things still generate a lot of property taxes, whether the price of commodities are up or down. And again, those are jobs from folks that when commodities are down and things slow down, things slow down in the economy, those people can still afford to come to town and buy breakfast on Saturday and support your local community. I'm open to any conversation that you have to have. Again, I want to be clear. I respect this community and whatever desire they come to. I'm just here to share what I've experienced in the past.
Thank you, Tom. I'll turn it over to this board for any questions, comments, concerns.
So I have comments. You know, I did a lot of research on this in the last couple weeks. I read an executive order that came out from President Trump to authorize federal lands for data centers. That's the last thing I want, is our public lands going to data centers. My thought is, if we have private citizens that own private property out in these I-3 zonings, and they have their own water, and they have their own power, why would we stop that?
Couldn't agree more.
Data centers have been around for 20 plus years. But from the seat I sit in, I agree. You show me a path back to 1990 technology, I would take it. There is no path backwards.
We would agree.
And my other thought is, when a private citizen, who loves government overreach in here? You love government overreach?
Absolutely, regulations are needed.
Okay, but as a private citizen who owns a piece of property zoned in a zoning area for I-3, and they have their own water rights, and they're producing their own power, to me, that's government overreach when we tell them not to. And I'm not talking about mega AI data centers.
How are they producing their own?
Whether they produce it solar, they have to get their own power.
I would just ask, keep the banter in the audience for now. You will have your time for public comment, and you can address these issues at that time.
Now, if I owned a piece of property, which I don't, now, I don't like them either, but in the seat I sit in, I use data centers. We're using one right now. To live stream this, we're using it. It's going through a data center.
How many acres are we talking? Do we even know?
Well, I don't know
There's
how many.
no applications. That's the
There's
biggest
no
thing, is there's no
applications.
applications.
And
We're
I
just
don't-
talking about the
I
hypothetical.
can't tell you exactly how many acres are privately owned in I-3. But we're talking about private citizens owning private property. We're not talking about putting this on farmland. As a matter of fact, I would fight against that tooth and nail, because I want our irrigated fields still irrigated. If you've been here long enough, and you remember when the federal government bought a bunch of water rights, and look what happened to Swingle Bench. I don't want that to happen. But we're talking about property property that you people in here might not even know is Churchill County. But there are probably, I'm not saying nobody in here knows it's Churchill County, but there's probably people that didn't even know Churchill County runs past I-80. So when we have to protect the rights of the people to develop their land when it's zoned in that zoning area. If I owned a piece of land in that zoning area and I met all the requirements of that zoning area, I'll tell you who's going to pay me. The government, local government that told me I couldn't do what I wanted to do, even though it made all the check marks on that. And I own my own water rights. It'd be the same thing if this commission sat up here and said, look, I've got this agriculture ground, I want to put a dairy in, but people didn't want a dairy next to this residence, but it's zoned agriculture. And it's a very fine line. It's a very fine line. I've lived here my whole life. I'm telling you, I feel the same way about you as Data. I was probably the last one of my friends to get a cell phone, probably the last ones. I still don't use Facebook. But we have to protect people's rights to develop their property when they meet all the requirements. We're not telling you that we're going to give them county water.
Nope, no data. No data, no here, none.
I guess one additional,
Did you get the research on how
Ma'am,
bad they
ma'am,
are?
please just wait. You'll have your time for public comment.
And it depends on where you get your research from too. Some people can't do a lot of, it's hard when you look at the internet what's fact and fiction.
Tom, will you go ahead, please?
yes. I guess one additional comment I would make, and this is really about governance as a whole and as it relates to the sovereignty of the county and the community. You are dedicated public servants. You're smart people, right? Having the ability to bring a use permit forward and figure out and take each project as its own value, and understanding whether it fits in the community or not, I think is up to this body. I don't think things like blanket restrictions serve anybody very well. I think the ability to look at each project for its merits. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. This is your community. I'm not, you won't hear from me probably on those things and telling you what to put in your community. But I think this board is educated and is attuned to the needs of its constituents and what it sees going forward. And I think that's good governance.
And I agree with everybody out here. At some point, this technology has got to stop. But
That was even like when I was researching data centers and stuff like that. You just go to Google and you type in your question, and it used to just be you'd have to find the link and you'd click the link, and now it says, AI overview. Here you go.
right.
And that's just the way that the world's moving, unfortunately. And again, I wish, that's what I always said too, is that I wish I could have immigrated with my great-grandparents to Fallon in 1911. And I don't care if I don't have my fancy John Deere tractor. If I have a horse-pulled plow, I would kill for that. But that's just not the world we live in anymore, unfortunately. Commissioner Blakey, do you have any thoughts?
It's a little early for thoughts for me. Just need to remember why we're here today, to discuss the possibility of entertaining data centers in our community. And we always have to remember that every single property owner has property rights. And I said we have to remember that every property owner has property rights, and we have to keep that in respect. There is concerns, but if we determine that this is an avenue that we would like to go down, I think today I think we should consider directing staff in a certain manner of what we would like to see regulation-wise, thought process-wise, development-wise, how big, how small, if that's, we're not restricting a property owner, but we can say this size is too big, this size is too small. This is the things I'm thinking of if it is going to be here, or if we have to, we can't tell someone they can't do something, because then Churchill County would pay for it for the rest of our time. And when I say Churchill County, I mean every single citizen will have to pay for it, because you pay us, so we would have to pay them. So we want to do this the right way. We want to do this the slow approach. We want to make sure we have everything in order, so if should someone show up, we will be prepared. And the time, ma'am, I'm speaking. Now is the time for us to take the slow approach, observe what's going on around the state, observe what's going on in other states, and make sure that we've done everything we possibly can do to entertain this idea. And then when we find regulation that's suitable for our county, then that will determine if a business opportunity arrives in our county. It may not be their model. They may choose to go somewhere else, but we've protected our community as much as we can protect it for our citizens. Our number one goal is citizen protection. Number two goal is property right owners protection, and making sure that Churchill County is here long after each one of us is gone, and there's a place for our children to be. So with that said, I'm going to stop right there for a minute and then see if there's any other discussion, or maybe chime in later.
And I think that's the biggest thing, is that's why we're having this meeting right now, is that we want to get ahead of this, so when the time does come, we can say yes, no, absolutely not, absolutely yes. We know for a fact that we're making the best call for Churchill County. Again, there's no proposed data centers right now, and we'll get to your public comment and we'll take that in. I always make a whole entire list of public comment and notes and stuff that I can think about at a later date. We'll get to that point, I promise you guys. But that's why we're having this meeting, is we want to take a stance and we want to figure out and start getting information and gathering information so we can be prepared for when the time comes that we do have to address this issue. It's coming. And I'm also a firm believer with Commissioner Hyde. Private property rights. If you own a piece of ground and you own the water and you own this, can I really step in and take that from you? Possibly. If it's a contamination, then yes. If it's harmful to the environment, then yes. If it doesn't fit with where we want to go, then yes. But we don't know all those facts yet, and we're still trying to learn those facts.
And we want to hear concerns like Ms. Hanson, the fire. Yeah, those things would need to be addressed. I'm sure that inside the building they will have halon, and those are things that we need to talk about. Defensible space, a lot of different things that need to be talked about, and that's what this meeting's for. And that's why we had this meeting prior to anything being, prior to having an application for a data center. We're trying to get out in front of it. We've seen around the country the backlash from not being out in front of it.
And I will stay here as long as you have questions for me. I have a couple of final comments. One, I will let you know that all of the information that we have around this topic is available through our office. Should you reach out, we're happy to share what we have. And I know that Commissioner Mitchell from Story County is here, and I know that they have a great deal of data as it relates to this subject, and I'm sure they'd be happy to share with you their best practices, what they've learned, and what the environment is at this point in time.
I guess my other big concern with data centers is it doesn't seem like, when I do my research, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of regulation as yet, or,
Trump removed all regulation. He told the EPA not to
Ma'am.
regulate them at all,
Ma'am.
especially their forever.
I can jump in.
Estelle, you'll get your time
I'm
for
sorry,
public
I
comment.
did what I told
That's
you.
fine, you'll get your time.
and that's concerning to me, because I'm already concerned with the little bit we do have. What's truth and what's false when you go to the internet? Hell, you can't even hardly tell who's telling the truth. And there needs to be it needs to be slowed down at the federal level until they get this figured out. I mean, that's the biggest concern, that's the biggest concern I have. And what are we gonna come to? What are the regulations? Who's regulating these? So from above us, these questions have to be answered. Because I'll tell you what, it scares me. AI scares the hell out of me.
Sir, you'll get your time, just. Is there any
So
other?
is there any time frame when, I mean, they won't even, it doesn't even seem like they want to tell the American people what these data centers are really going to be used for. So now there's all this misinformation comes from speculation.
We agree. And I don't have an answer to
And
your
that's
question.
that's a concern. So I don't know.
No, I'm not sure I don't feel the
I don't
same
know
way.
where to
just don't
get
know the
that
answer.
information.
I don't know the answer to your question.
So at this time, so just to kind of go back a little bit here from what I've been thinking about, is that, generally speaking, if you have the water rights, you own the ground, I'm there. And so then you look at the concern of, let's say, noise pollution or light pollution. And I think we've really poised ourselves in a good position in Churchill County on targeting I3 zoning for data centers, which again is all limited very far away from urban populations, residential populations. And, it's mainly concentrated all the way up along I-80, north of I-80. So that kind of takes care of that concern. You have the energy concern. I've read articles that, data centers are bringing their own power, whether it be natural gas, solar, battery storage, whatever it might be, geothermal. So that one is still a little bit of a concern, but not nearly as much as when I very first started. We'll get to public comment. We can address some of the other concerns as well, but I'll leave it at that for now.
I'm not sure where we're at or where we're ready, but I would like to ask if Commissioner Mitchell from Story County would come forth and share a little bit of knowledge with this meeting, good or bad, and help and see if it would rectify some of the questions. Is that something that we can do, or would you like to entertain that at this time?
You can definitely ask them if you want to.
Mr. Mitchell, would you like to come forth and just share some good or bad information with us?
It's gonna be the bottom red button.
Thank you very much. We're a little behind the times on the technology up on the hill where I am. For the record, Clay Mitchell, Story County Commissioner. I was just prepared to make my public comment like everybody else. I'm happy to share just a little bit of that right now. First of all, I just want to commend you for taking a thoughtful approach on emerging industries and figuring out the proper way to regulate them and make sure they fit into your community. My purpose in attending today and commenting today is not to try to influence you to take any particular approach. I'm a strong believer, as Mr. Burns is, in local economic and land use self-determination. Mostly I'm here just to offer myself and our staff as a resource as you look at this topic and consider it. Our first major data center in Story County was built in 2017 by Switch, and the second one arrived in 2021. It was built by Google, and clearly many more have are on their way since then. I'll just share a few notions around data centers, and again, I'm happy to work with my staff to get you relevant, specific information. But the first thing I want to share is that every data center is different, and often we talk about them like they're a commodity, like you can just switch one for the other, and the same is true for every single one. But there is they vary greatly in size and power usage and cooling technology, density of equipment, and purpose, what they're actually being used for. The second thing, Mr. Burns talked a little bit about the employment. It is true, a large data center typically is only creating 20, 50, maybe 100 jobs, permanent jobs. They pay well, they average six figures, and they're accessible without excessive investment in education. A lot of times you can get an online certificate and be qualified as a data center technician. Starting wages, I'm hearing, in the range of $65,000 a year, plus benefits, and then averaging in the six-figure range. Now, that same data center that's going to provide maybe 20 to 50 jobs may take 500 to 800 to build for that time frame. And that's what we're seeing, and kind of was a blind spot. Now, when they started expressing interest in a big way about 2-3 years ago, I looked into it and said, well, what is this going to mean? And I said, we got Tesla with the Gigafactory. Maybe it's not bad to have something in the mix here that doesn't employ as many people. The roads are jammed up. We're trying to get a handle on that. We're trying to solve that. And the blind spot, the thing that I didn't see, was all the construction jobs in the short term. Now, they pay premium wages. A lot of these build-outs, even though the data center itself may only take 18 months to 2 years, they're building a campus where we are, and so that may be 5, 7, 10 years of construction. And we're hearing, and you'll probably hear from the building trades, that provides some stability that typically construction workers don't have. Usually they're chasing the work wherever it goes. So to be able to live in a community, to put down roots, and to be able to work on these projects, and also to be able to train apprentices on some pretty complicated advanced technology is a benefit to them. From the water usage perspective, we serve as the board of the water utility that provides water to the data centers in our county. They're not allowed to drill their own well. They have to come with water rights, bank those with the utility, and hook up. We only have one facility that is actually using fresh water for cooling, and they're looking, it was built, it was an older technology, and they're looking at, can they update it? We have some that are planning on using treated effluent water for cooling, and that gets reused multiple times. Advanced treatment, $300 million advanced treatment plant being paid for by the ratepayers is being constructed as we speak. So other than that, all of our data centers are either dry cooling, or they use a true closed loop, which is typically like a glycol water mix. It's like antifreeze. It's like what you got in your car, your truck. And if that's monitored properly, if it's maintained properly, it doesn't consume any significant amount. You may need to make up a little here and there. You got to change out that fluid every however many years, but it's not consuming water. From the local economic impact, I have some more specific numbers, but I'll give you kind of the broad. Our established data centers provide us some good data on tax revenue from the local side. And even with the fairly generous abatements that the state gives out, our two longest tenured data centers are consistently generating just under $3 and $5 million per year in property taxes. And so that's after being reduced significantly. That's what we're actually collecting at the county level. Now, at the county, we get about 53% of property taxes, which means on top of that, then the schools are getting something, the fire district's getting something, the state's getting a little piece as well. And so that's where we're sitting on those. We don't have a lot of long-term data on the others that are being built right now, of course, that are coming online. As far as noise goes, we haven't observed excessive noise from any of our operating facilities. But this may be a consideration that if they're placed nearer to residential uses, we have our industrial pretty far removed from any residences. I imagine that you likely have tools like a decibel at a lot line or something like that you can put as a condition that would put a reasonable limit if that was a concern for a particular project that came to you. For us, that's fairly common with industrial installations of any kind. We have a limit that at the lot line it can't exceed a certain level, and we found that these companies are pretty responsive when we express a concern on something. And finally, our experience has been that overall these companies have been pretty good corporate citizens, and what I mean by that is they're engaged in community outreach and seeking ways to fulfill company needs. I'll give you just two examples. One of the data centers being built, they sought out their executives are real passionate about veterans care and also about law enforcement. And so they funded some veterans services for us, and then they also donated a search and rescue truck for our sheriff's department to get into the backcountry And that was just their way of participating in the community. They're not even operating yet. The other one is another of the data center companies looked at us and said, look, your big ladder truck is about to reach the end of its service life, and so we'd like to provide you another one. When we got the first one, it was paid for by Tesla when they first came in, $750,000. The new one's about $2.5 million, and so they're providing that for us because they want to be a partner in the community. I'm not saying they're perfect. And certainly there's a range of legitimacy. There are data center developers who yesterday were warehouse developers. And, I don't know what kind of track record those guys have, but when you're talking about large publicly traded companies, we found for the most part they keep their promises and they try to do things right. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions. I don't want to take more of your time, but at least that gives maybe a bit of a local perspective.
Thank you, Commissioner Mitchell. Is there any questions from this board for Tom or Commissioner Mitchell?
Go ahead. No, I'm going to reserve my right.
Okay, with that, we're going to turn it over to public comment at this time. Thank you. I think what we're going to do, before everyone gets up and makes it a giant mess here, we're going to form a line over here on this left-hand side, or I guess your right-hand side, sorry. Your right-hand side. If you want to wait in that line, you can wait in that line, or you can just wait. That's just a sign-in sheet. Not everyone on that list is going to have public comment. Just come up here, and again, it's going to be the little red button at the bottom of the microphone. And you can just alternate between the two tables.
This is okay, you can hear me? Good afternoon, my name is Elle Washburn. I am a Churchill County resident, and I represent small acreage farmers with water rights here in the county. And I'm here to express my concern over having a data center in our county. I do want to start by saying I appreciate how challenging Discord can be and just the thoughtfulness that this board is putting forward by staying in front of it. Churchill County has always been cautious about growth, economic development, and protecting our way of life. As someone who studied organizational structures at a graduate level, I am familiar with how our ecology, health, and social systems are interconnected. We cannot make important decisions in a vacuum. We must be cautious and look beyond the short-term goals to long-term outcomes and potential consequences of our decisions. Our county has experience with polluted water, so these concerns are very real for many. A tax base and new jobs are not the only benchmarks by which we measure our wealth. I encourage this board to look at all information as it produces itself to support a thoughtful decision and understand that the outcomes will possibly transcend your elected tenure. We must look at this decision critically. Just because it's legal doesn't always make it right. In closing, our elected officials are intended to represent the people, but I would also say that I'm here to give a voice to those who do not have one, namely our water, our soil, our crops, and our livestock. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead and just state your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Wendy Colborn, and I'm Chief of Staff for the Building and Construction Trades Council of Northern Nevada. Since 1928, our council has represented the skilled men and women who build this region, and we ask you to keep their livelihoods in mind as you weigh the future of data center development in Churchill County. We respect this community's concerns, and we support thoughtful, common-sense regulation. Safeguards like ratepayer protections, ensuring that these new, large electricity users fund their own infrastructure rather than shifting costs onto Churchill County families are reasonable, and we support them. They can't afford to pay their own way, and they should. But we also urge you not to lose sight of what these projects mean for working families and rural county budgets. Data centers sustain real careers for thousands and thousands of electricians, pipe fitters, operating engineers, laborers, and all the trades we represent. These are family-supporting wages, frequently over $150,000 a year, with health coverage, pensions, and paid apprenticeships that put local residents on a path to lifelong skilled work. These buildings require ongoing maintenance, upgrades, and retrofit work for decades. They're not temporary jobs. The tax revenue these facilities generate, even if they are abated, is sizable and helps fund schools, police, and fire departments for our municipalities. They can also create jobs here in this community, not in Washoe County or in Story County, which can help keep Fallon and Churchill County thriving. A single hyperscale facility requires thousands of hours from IBEW electricians, laborers, operating engineers, pipe fitters, and iron workers. These are family-sustaining union jobs for working-class people. State law already says that 50% plus of workers on these projects have to be Nevadans. Initial construction on many of these facilities runs for 3 to 5 years. Our apprenticeships range in length from 2 to 5 years. We see people finishing entire apprenticeships working on these projects. These apprentices go on to be the workforce that builds Nevada's schools, hospitals, and affordable housing. We ask the Commission to pursue smart standards over outright moratoriums and to please consider the trades a constructive partner in getting the details right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Cullen McGinnis, and I'm an organizer with the Sierra Club Toyabe chapter. The Sierra Club Toyabe chapter is the largest grassroots environmental organization in the state, and we represent about 300 members right here in Churchill County. First, I want to thank you all for taking a proactive approach to the issue. Data centers are a relatively new and rapidly evolving form of development, and communities across Nevada are being asked to make decisions about projects that have significant long-term impacts on land use, water resources, energy infrastructure, and quality of life. We know data center development is accelerating throughout Nevada. We have heard from residents across the state, including many in Churchill County, who are concerned about what these facilities can mean for their communities if they are not properly planned and regulated. While the Sierra Club Toyabe chapter supports local governments that determine data centers are not the right fit for their communities, our primary message today is that if data centers are going to be considered, they should be subject to strong local standards that protect residents, natural resources, and taxpayers. To that end, I brought copies of the Toyabe chapter's local policy recommendations for data centers. Our Executive Director, Olivia Tanager, and I, and our organization as a whole, would be happy to serve as a resource to Churchill County as we continue this conversation. Over the past 2 years, we have spent considerable time researching data center development and working with local governments across Nevada on these issues. Although much of the recent attention is focused on Reno's data center moratorium and ongoing discussions in Henderson, the reality is that many of the most significant impacts of this industry will be felt in rural Nevada. Churchill County faces unique considerations, including the protection of limited water resources, the preservation of agricultural lands and rural character, the demands placed on electrical infrastructure, and ensuring that local residents see meaningful benefits from any development that occurs. We encourage the county to take the time necessary to fully understand both the risks associated with this industry before long-term decisions. Data centers are not ordinary development projects, and thoughtful planning today can help avoid costly consequences in the future. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Trey Abney, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Nevada Data Center Alliance. I'm not here to ask you to approve a specific project or change your policies. I'm here to offer our organization as a resource as Churchill County begins thinking about data centers and the opportunities they may present. Across Nevada, communities are asking important questions about data centers, like you've heard today. Those questions deserve real answers grounded in engineering, planning, and economics, not myths or headlines from somewhere else. The Nevada Data Center Alliance can help. We can provide model ordinances from other jurisdictions, connect you with industry experts, and share best practices on issues like water, power, noise, buffering, and site design. Our goal is to help local governments make informed decisions that fit their own communities. One point is especially important. When properly sited and appropriately regulated, data centers can be a tremendous asset for rural Nevada. They bring significant private investment, they broaden the tax base, create skilled construction and technology jobs, and often fund infrastructure improvements that benefit the wider community. Unlike many forms of growth, they can generate substantial economic value without placing comparable demands on schools or other local services. That doesn't mean every site is appropriate. Siting matters, infrastructure matters, community compatibility matters, good planning matters. But with thoughtful standards and clear expectations, counties like Churchill can welcome responsible investment while protecting the qualities that make this community special. Rather than reinventing the wheel, we encourage you to draw from the experience of jurisdictions that have already addressed these issues. We stand ready to help with model ordinances, technical information, and introductions to operators and experts who can help answer your questions directly. The best decisions are made when local leaders have the best information available, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. We appreciate your service, we appreciate your willingness to engage on this topic, and the opportunity to work with you as a constructive partner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Katie Zeller for the record, Kadiezeller. Welcome, everyone. It's been a minute since I've seen you all. I'm a tribal member, a rancher, a public health specialist, and a community member in Churchill for 32 years. I urge the commissioners and any other elected representatives to vote against allowing data centers in Churchill County. Churchill is often the leading county in Nevada to go against the grain and not jump on popular bandwagons without the extensive research. As ranchers, we have seen the oncoming drought for the last 5 years, and it won't be our last. Our water and land are important for wildlife, livestock, farming, and to replenish the wells and underground aquifers. This goes for public land as well. Wildlife and delicate ecosystems are only found in Churchill County are at risk. Mason Valley is currently headed towards a crisis, and we can watch them as an example for the next decade to see how they fare. Data centers are already buying water at considerably high rates from other communities that feed from our rivers. They say the closed-loop systems are safe and don't use as many resources. Research shows closed-loop systems involve pumping highly toxic chemicals like isobutane and others through a closed-loop system in the pipes into the ground to cool the water within the system, and it can only be used so many times. A drive through USA Parkway will show you the massive cooling ponds and pipes that lead to these facilities. And when those pipes burst, inevitably, and has happened in Churchill County with all of the other investments that we've seen, those toxic chemicals are leached into our groundwater that feed our aquifers, and they cannot be removed out or filtered. We already have this problem with the geothermal plants and the Navy fuel lines. We don't need one more corporation sacrificing our community for the billion-dollar investment. Additionally, Nevada Energy is in the process of potentially selling their water allotments and allowments to data centers coming to the region. They just are at the tail end of a 400-megawatt solar battery storage site in Nightingale next to Churchill County, having destroyed sacred sites and wildlife habitats. Nevada Energy is always going to look to offset the cost, and we are the consumers footing the bill. Certain corporations are already discussing developing a workforce to build a data center if they are allowed in Churchill County. While this is not confirmed, as we have confirmed by the commissioners, it is concerning. It doesn't happen overnight, and they are preparing for something that we are talking about today. Not to mention, when these facilities are built, it does only take a small handful of people to maintain them, and you can't ensure these jobs will go to folks from within our county. All of the workforce they bring to build them, similar to USA Parkway, many of them are not from here. They're following the money. They abuse our community resources and housing, which further impacts our already overpopulated and underhoused community, leaving when the money is gone, leaving us to clean after them. It's a billion-dollar industry that can afford to put money into research to figure out how to make this more effective and better for our environment. No handout and charity can supersede that. They come into small communities like ours and take advantage of the promise of economic impact, money, and progress, when the truth is all they really do is environmental destruction and the depletion of our aquifers so that we can no longer sustainably live here, even when the facilities are located far from homes and our farmland. I'm all for progress, but not when progress supersedes our natural resources and our literal livable resources and fragile ecosystems and environments. Let them figure out how to solve a problem that they have created and consider the impact in another decade. Bringing in a data center of any size would be detrimental to our community and those who surround us. In the very least, please put in a moratorium until the technology is better and then readdress it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
For the record, Connor Getch, I live here in Fallon. That's going to be a tough act to follow. Wow. My biggest thing is the tax abatements that we lure these companies in, right? We just seen Google, SpaceX AI, and a few others go public within the last couple weeks. These are billion-dollar industries that can definitely pay their share. They don't need to buy their way into us with new fire trucks or search and rescue or other gifts to the community. They need to support our schools and support our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you start, sir, I just wanted to address that. I don't know if anyone watched our commissioners meeting from this morning, but we brought up tax abatements and how unhappy rural counties are with tax abatements and trying to address the legislature to get that changed. Go ahead, sir. If you could turn on your microphone, it's going to be the bottom red button. And if you guys want, you guys can just leave them on when you guys speak.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, you're good.
All right. All right. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is George McKinnon, and I've been living in Fallon for about 10 years almost. And during that period, I opened a business. I have a Nevada business license. And I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. And on top of that, I have traveled around the world visiting the largest NOCs, which are what data centers are, in the world. I had a crew of 12 software engineers, I'm a software engineer, who worked for me. We were making well over $100,000 a year. So I don't know where you're getting your numbers. And that was 10, 15 years ago. But anyways, we visited all the large NOCs, and the large NOCs were banks. Banks always have large NOCs with Linux systems in them. And also telecommunications companies have large NOCs. huge NOx because of all the data that's going through them. They were as big, but compared to the data centers today, the NOx at the telecommunications at say, I can't remember them any right now, but anyways, they look like they're nothing. They're exponentially larger. Okay, now we're introducing what they call water to cool the systems. Okay, and how many of you think that the usage of water, since they're taking it out and putting it back into the system, they're not contaminating it. I mean, they're just putting it through. Let me give you an example. Nuclear power plants. You notice they always have them right next to the ocean? Most of them are near the ocean. It's because they bring in fresh water, well, fresh salt water from the ocean. They put it through, they don't contaminate it, and then they let it out on the other end into the ocean. And where they let it out, there are enormous algae blooms because the water is so damned hot. That's what's going to happen with the data centers. Exactly the same thing. When the water is brought in, I don't know whether they're going to build one in Winnemucca. Is that where they're planning on doing it? Is that what Winnemucca, is that where they're planning on building it? The data center?
Again, at this time, we don't have any
Okay.
proposals for Churchill
Well,
County.
they have more water there than we have, so it's probably going to be there. On the Humboldt River, they're right in the middle of it. So there's a lot of water up there. So when they pour the water out, after they're done for the data center, let's assume it's in Humboldt County, Winnemucca. The water will be turned out into the Humboldt River, which ends up in the northeast corner of Churchill County in that big old puddle of salt water at the bottom of the basin. That's the bottom of the Great Basin. It comes down through Winnemucca and down there. Now, what happens when the water that's coming out of the data center in Winnemucca flows into our little salt bed over here? Now you're going to have salt creatures crawling out of there. I mean, we're going to have that. Plus, the Thacker Pass mine.
Mr. McKinnon, if you could finish up your public comment.
And the Thorman, pardon me?
If you could finish up your public comment.
Okay, I'll finish up. I'll have to say one more thing. And the other problem with Winnemucca is the lithium mine that's being built up there. The thorium that pours into the ground system and pours into the Humboldt River will also, not in 10 years, not in 20, maybe in 100 years, that little pond out there in the northeast part of Churchill County will have thorium, heavy metal thorium at the bottom. In about 100 years. We'll be dead by then, but just so you know that. Anyways, I'm available if you have any questions about data centers, the workings of them, the power requirements. I can be available. I live right here in town. I used to work with Richard Hickox.
Thank you, Mr. McKinnon.
And
go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric York. I'm a newcomer to Fallon. I've only been here about 11 years. I teach at the college. I've lived in 6 different states, foreign country, worked 15 years in semiconductor manufacturing in several different highly technical areas, and now I teach. We need a little bit of perspective on this subject. Data centers are more like about 40 years old than 20. And they existed pretty much under the radar for 20 to 30 years. We talk a lot about water, and we know that cooling technology in the newer centers that are planned and are being built have much less intensive water use. But there's really only one reason why data centers ever had single-use water cooling systems. There's one reason only, because it was the cheapest. Corporations exist to make money, and we should never forget that. The only reason our good neighbors are changing their cooling methods today is because the public is now more aware of it. So today, I'm a little bit less concerned about water usage because let's face it, cooling technology ain't rocket surgery. It's not. It hasn't changed in 40 years. All of the different options for cooling that exist today existed 40 years ago. It's a question of cost. So if we are not particularly vigilant in what any corporation does in our neighborhood, they're going to do what's cheapest. They don't care about the people of Churchill County. Again, I'm a newcomer, but I don't plan on going anywhere. This is where I want to live. Much more concern to me is power consumption. Nobody's building small data centers right now. On average, your new data centers are starting at about 100 megawatts usage. Switch has 2 campuses at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. One of them is using about 130 megawatts. The other one's using, I can't remember, about 55 megawatts. Those 2 campuses are planned to increase to around 650 megawatts of electricity usage. This is not trivial. You guys have access to how much the entire county uses today. Compare that to a 100 megawatt draw, or a 150 megawatt draw, or a 200 megawatt draw. This is non-trivial. I know I'm running out of time. I would really appreciate your indulgence just a little bit here. So to my mind, you guys have a really, really hard job. You have to protect the interests of your constituents, and you also have to protect the future of the county. And this is not an easy thing to do. But to my mind, we need to ensure that if a data center was to be approved in this area, there would have to be some pretty strict requirements. Essentially net zero water usage, but that's actually quite easy. It's just a little bit more expensive. They would need to come, Commissioner Hyde, you said earlier, you talked about producing their own power. 100 to 150 megawatts is a non-trivial power production proposition. And the gentleman from—
Mr. York, I'm just going to interrupt you real quick. Can you open those doors, please? This is a public meeting. We can't have the doors closed. Go ahead.
I lost my train of thought. We need to ensure that they come with a plan for power production that does not involve cost increases to the residents of Churchill County. This could be a consortium with other industries. It could be a long-term project because, let's face it, a data center's average lifetime is about 5 years. And then they have to go through significant upgrades or the buildings get converted to other things. And well, a solar institution or a solar installation or a geothermal installation has a much, much longer lifetime.
Mr. York, if you could wrap it up.
So that could be amortized over a longer period of time.
Thank you.
Property rights versus the good of the public. Non-trivial discussion there.
Thank you. Go ahead, Estelle.
Hello, I'm Estelle Hockemeyer. The Reno City Council put a stop to data centers being built there. Have we asked them why? If we enter into another drought, our farmers will be limited, but big AI, their water won't be limited. They will keep pumping from our aquifers while we are told to stop. I encourage everyone to go to Erin Brockovich's Data Center Awareness website. She is fighting for rural counties specifically and giving them knowledge about the danger data centers impose on rural water. The Desert Research Institute projects Nevada data centers will consume over 3.1 billion gallons of water annually. I went to your website and I reviewed Churchill County's Community Water Protection Plan. Previous commissioners like Pete Olson hired outside consultants to evaluate our risk to businesses using our aquifers. Please get down. Get down. Oh gosh. Pause the clock. Is there a grandma in the audience? Oh no. Previous commissioners like Pete Olson hired outside consultants to evaluate our risk to businesses using our aquifers. They created maps and amazing guidance that's already set in place on how to protect our aquifers. I proposed you to write a binding memorandum that they must sign and agree to, so you always maintain control if you choose to allow one in town. First, we must let them build. They must generate their own wind or solar, no drawing off NV Energy, which is already too stressed. Second, they cannot tap our basalt aquifer. That's in that information on your website. That is our main source of drinking water. Put that in your memorandum, that they have to tell us exactly which aquifer they plan to use, if so. Preferred cooling system is preferred. Reno has 8 data centers. Lyon County has 3 data centers with 20 massive data center buildings. And Story County has going on 9 data centers. Do we know how that will affect our resupply runoff? I will be emailing you some information that contradicts the office of what Brad just said. Though Story County might use closed-loop systems, there are 0 in Washoe County who use them and 0 in Lyon County who use them. We need to start communicating with our neighbors regarding all of our aquifers that we use together, including the runoff. Third, mandate how many employees they must hire directly from Fallon under Nevada's tax abatement law and our law, you know. They have to hire only 10 Nevada residents in their first 5 years. That's it. Mandate that they cannot transfer the tenancy of the building and they cannot transfer their tax abatements. Require them to hire local Fallon janitorial, local security, and local builders. No one out of Reno. They must contract locally. And we must establish a strict timeline on how long their trainers can stay in town because we don't have a rental market that can house their temporary employees. Fourth, and most importantly, absolutely never sign a non-disclosure agreement with them. NDAs keep secrets from you and they keep secrets from us. They hide water consumption and they expose our community to lawsuits. The EPA announced that they will not be overseeing data centers' environmental impacts. Without EPA oversight, they could flush chemical line buildup right back into our water, and fluorohexane is a cancer-causing PFAS that is known from data centers to cause cancer. There are multiple articles
Estelle, if you could
online.
wrap it up about 2
I know,
more
sorry, I had a
seconds.
distraction.
No, you're fine. I gave you extra time.
I will also be emailing you some articles, a couple headlines. Rural Montana ranchers take on the data centers. Data centers caused severe flooding to residents. They will be reimbursed. Amazon agreed to a $12.5 million class action lawsuit over data center pollution in Northern Oregon. Data centers are contributing to forever chemicals.
Estelle, if you could wrap it up, I gave you
This
an
is the
extra-
last comment.
Perfect.
And reports, and I'll send you a report that links that data from Ohio was causing rare cancers. And then, sorry, I know that I got distracted. Will you also please include the Paiute Shoshone tribe if one is to come into town? The aquifers that run underneath our water, they need to be a part of all of our decision-making. Thank you.
Pam, go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioners, for holding this workshop. Here I am again. I'm here today because of my deep concern with the explosion of these data centers. First, let's call these centers for what they are. They are surveillance facilities. Will Hollingsworth, from a small town of 11,000 in Ohio, who worked in tech, he helped build the systems that are now driving this boom. Mr. Hollingsworth knows what these facilities do and what they cost. He said, we are being asked today with the proliferation of surveillance centers to drain our water resources. So a chat box can write a poem, so our sheriff can generate a picture of himself standing next to Bigfoot. These facilities are not an employer. They are an extractor. A big extractor who uses the water of thousands of people. And in the end, they hire very few people. I know the gentlemen that were here were saying 100 or 200. That's dictated on the data center. So my concern is they're not employing that many people. Construction going in, yes. But when they are finally done, they're not looking at a lot of people. They are not a job creator, not an economic engine. These facilities come into your town, usually under the guise of secrecy. They take your water, your electricity, your land, usually rich farmland, and they also will take your quiet. Diesel engines that run 24/7, we now know that diesel generators release harmful pollutants, including fine particulates and nitrogen oxide linked to respiratory disease, heart disease, asthma, and other serious health issues. They take your road capacity. They take your grid stability. We have to ask ourselves, do these facilities give back? Not much. They use millions of gallons of water per day. 1 acre-feet of water equals 325,851 gallons. Box Elder facility in Utah has petitioned for 13,000 acre-feet of water. That equals 4.2 billion gallons. Utah is now in severe drought. On June 11, 2026, 500 organizations encompassing 47 states sent a letter to Congress demanding a national moratorium on the approval and constrictions of all new centers. The letter warns Congress that the rapid, largely unregulated rise of surveillance centers presents one of the biggest environmental and social threat of our generation.
Pam, if you could wrap up your public comment,
You bet.
please.
That can't be overstated. Our EPA has said that last week that the agency will not regulate these facilities, so Congress is mostly leaving it to its localities to figure it out. So commissioners, I'm asking for a moratorium. Let's do our due diligence and gather all the information and then give our citizens a chance to give their input. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pam. Tom, whenever you're ready.
Tom Riggins for the record. First off, I commend the commission for being proactive on this issue. You were one of the latest of several, most recent that I'm aware of, being Humboldt County, trying to get their hands around this issue. Listening to the comments and what I'm aware of your zoning codes, I think that you are faced with a decision that either do nothing, and when one of these applications comes, end up in a possibly litigious nightmare, ban data centers altogether, or set up an ordinance that makes some meaningful provisions where you can control what happens. I'm probably going to reiterate or summarize some of Mr. York's comments. My thoughts on this: first, any data center should be energy independent. And that, I mean, not just on an average basis, but for all of their energy demands. So if they have a solar system, there needs to be a backup system of some sort so that they are not drawing on the grid. Secondly, as was pointed out, most of the newer systems are closed, cooling systems are closed circuit. The water consumptive use is very minimal on those, but it needs to be assured that that is the case. Third, these things are noisy. Not a clanging and banging type noise, but an electronic hum. So we need to assure that the noise pollution does not infringe on neighboring properties, whether they're industrial or they shouldn't be next to a residential, but any other adjoining property use. I am not necessarily against or for data centers. I think in the right circumstances, they can be a good thing. If properly managed, properly controlled, and that, whether you like it or not, lies with you as the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Amber Sanchez. All right, I don't have anything really prepared, but my question is, unless and until more is known about these centers, why not a moratorium? I mean, what's the rush? Unless you're just money hungry, why just put a moratorium on it and learn? I mean, I don't understand, and I really don't understand why these data centers have to pop up everywhere to where they're ubiquitous to every flippin' county in the state. Why are they just popping up like weeds? I don't understand that. And I don't understand the comparison of a dairy to a data center. That one, I'm a little nonplussed over that.
A comparison of that is a comparison of private property rights
Okay.
and
but still.
zoning.
So it was like, there's still kind of the gap there. Anyway, and I think the employees that are brought in to these data centers will be brought from without. They will not be from within the county. They might sell you a bill of goods and tell you they will be, but they won't. They will hire from without, mark my words. And nobody from this county is going to get a job in one of those data centers here. So I don't even think they'd get a job as a janitor. They're going to hire from without. And even the construction companies, unless you put it in writing, somehow, like Tom was just saying, you got to put it in writing that that's what you require. Otherwise, you're not building here. Because they're going to do, unless you do spell it out that way, they will get away with what you don't require. So, know that. Oh, and the other thing I want you to know is that the way the battery recycling center was flown in under the radar is not going to happen here with this, because eyes on all of you, eyes. We got eyes on this time. So just know that, okay? No battery recycling center kind of nonsense is going to happen. Okay? All right? Appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
You're on our radar.
Okay. Hi, my name's Heather Rankow. You guys probably don't know me. I'm not from here, but I do work in the region. And I have spent my professional and educational life actually focused on sustainability. And a lot of you, when you hear sustainability, we kind of think back to like third grade, right? The arrows, reuse, recycle, right? Well, there's two types. There's big S, which is that kind of stuff, recycling and everything. And then there's small s. And I think small s, when you're talking about development, is sustainable development. And over time, centuries and decades, this is where communities prosper, when you have sustainable development. And how do you achieve that, right, is the biggest question. I think that's kind of why you guys are probably here having this workshop. But to the community, it's for you guys to stay involved, right? And being involved is not just having your opinion solely, but also staying informed, staying educated, and communicating and being part not only of the public conversations that exist in this room, but also with the developers that are coming to your community, right? They are always willing to hear your voice and have a conversation. And because it goes back and forth, right? In 2024, I finished my MBA at Berkeley, and I took a class in sustainability, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so great. I have kids. Who has kids here? Guessing some people from the community, right? I was like, oh, I can tell them all about the changes since I got my master's degree in 2009, 15 years later. There wasn't really much changes, and I was so disappointed, right? I was like, man, change is really hard to execute on, but it's also incredibly difficult to experience, especially in your local community. And so when I started working kind of in the region about 2 months ago for a developer, and that was one of the biggest questions came, power, water, how do you do what we're doing? Well, guess what? Change has come for development where electrical grids are not available to data centers. There is no capacity. If you guys could tell me that the grids that will actually give them a will serve letter for them to get a permit, please let me know. Would love to know. Same thing with water. If you don't have water rights, they gotta go secure it. They're not cheap. That affects how they invest, right? So your concerns are like, this community and a lot of the jurisdictions have done a really, really good job on locking that down. Third, when it comes to environmental, the EPA doesn't always govern the jurisdiction of development, right? So there's different ones. We have air quality concerns. Next to California, Nevada has one of the strongest air quality qualifications for how they come and develop. So even when they're using
Heather, if I
off-grid
could just
power-
interrupt you real quick, just direct it towards us.
Oh, okay,
That's
sorry.
In our statute, yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was workshop, sorry. So I think for you guys, continue to have those conversations, but a lot of the places are in place. And I think what's really helpful in public discourse in situations like this is to get community groups together, form them, represent, but ultimately, change is hard, but you can have a voice and you can be part of it, because ultimately sometimes it is going to happen. And I really commend you guys for being up here and doing that. And I'm happy to be a resource for the community. If anybody has questions, feel free to grab me. There's a great article by Ramboll. It's Ramboll. And it talks about sustainability in data centers. It's about a 38-page document. They're one of the most well-known...
Heather, if you could wrap it up, please.
Yes, this is my last comment. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
They're one of the most well-known developers in sustainable development in the world. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Heather Rankow. I'll put my name on the check.
Go ahead whenever you're ready. It's going to be the bottom button, the red button, little microphone button. Yep.
Hello, Michelle Anderson for the record. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Michelle, and I'm here today to strongly oppose the opening zoning for data centers in our rural agricultural community. This is not the right fit for our land, our water, or our future. We are a farming community. Agriculture depends on water, land, and reliable power. Data centers are industrial-scale facilities that consume enormous amounts of all three. That puts them in direct competition with the very foundation of our local economy. What concerns me most is not just the possibility of data centers coming here, it's the fact that this commission is considering opening the door before fully understanding the consequences. Some of you have openly said you are not technology users, that this is unfamiliar territory, and that regulations are unclear. If that's the case, then my question is simple. Why are we moving forward before doing the homework? If we don't understand the water demand, the electrical demand, the infrastructure burden, or the long-term environmental effects, then we have no business opening zoning for it. We already saw this happen with the lithium battery storage near a water source, approved while uncertainty remained around both regulations and the risks. That should have been a wake-up call for us. State and federal agencies regulate compliance, but you regulate placement. And rural farmland is not the place for experimental, high-impact industrial growth. I'm asking you to stop, research, and protect the agricultural community you were elected to serve before making decisions that cannot easily be undone. Because once the land changes, once the water's stressed, and once the infrastructure is committed, there's no going back. That's why I request a moratorium on data centers in Churchill County. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to reiterate this. We're not even going to vote today. This is all informational to gather community feedback, to offer our feedback. It's a community thing, so.
Well, there's no placement right now, but there could be an application tomorrow, and then it forces you guys to do something.
Thank you.
Therefore, that's why a moratorium is needed.
Go ahead.
Hello, for the record, my name is Elizabeth Bree Casper with a K. I am from Reno, Nevada, and I came here today to speak to everyone in the room behind me, but so I'm not allowed to directly address them, I will continue to face this way. I was not notified when my zoning changed and a data center was put in a block and a half from my house. Now, the birds are gone, the bees are gone, and I have gone to every single meeting that Reno has held to say that my health will not be adequately supported by the data center, that the birds and the bees will not be supported, that our watershed is a closed loop. We do not have the ability for a plan B for our watershed. That the natives are not at this table having this conversation here is a shame, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. I am here to speak to everyone behind me and let them know that the zoning officially went through on June 4th. You all have 10 days to file an appeal. An appeal can be placed within 10 days of filing for a zoning change. The zoning change from RR20 to I3 can be appealed and will be appealed via NRS codes 278.31954. If you want, there's also 278.310.
These are the directions that you will all need to be able to file an appeal on the fact that your area has been rezoned. To you all about the rezoning. Moving from the lowest density residential zone to the highest intensity industrial zone creates a severe land conflict. This jurisdiction's planning commission will require extensive environmental, traffic, noise, and health impact studies. Where you'll be getting your extra jobs is not inside these data centers, it's holding them accountable for the regulations that you all need to be putting in place right now. For our water, for our clean air, for the health of all of the people that you are sitting up there to protect. We need jobs for a disaster relief aid. We need a data center public liaison. We need data center legal teams. We need data center resource allocation division. We need data center fire crews. We need data center fire equipment specialists. We need data center code enforcement for all of the following: water, noise, odor, power, eliminating control, and site checks. All of these need to have crews of humans, councils that are trained to be able to hold them to the standards that we need you to be enacting right now to safeguard the health of our entire area. Yes, a moratorium is not being spoken about today, even though it needs to be. A full ban on the entire state is what we need to be talking about. We do not have the resources available for any data centers in the state of Nevada as the driest state in this country. We can look around what's happening all over the country, what's happening to our neighbors in Utah, allocating more water than they have. We do not have the ability to do the same here.
If you
with
could wrap
all
up
of our
your public
additional
comment, please.
mining that we have than any other state has in this country, we do not have the resources to take from mining, to take from residential, to take from agriculture. As the master plan states, the goal for Churchill County is to provide sustainable, long-term framework for controlled growth while rigorously protecting the area's agriculture and open spaces and natural resources. I'd like to leave you all with the last remaining question. How do data centers and how do solar panel mines facilitate that goal of the master plan? How do they maintain the safety of the people that you're supposed to be protecting? And how do they protect our natural resources? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead when you're ready.
Am I tripping? Oh, there we go. Hello, Commission. My name is Allison Hartman. I am also from Reno, Nevada, and I just kind of want to come here today and talk about our experience with data centers so far, especially the Keystone data center that Bree just talked about. So I do social media across the state of Nevada. I just kind of talk about local issues, whether that's, data centers, politics, whatever that may be. And one thing I'm finding is that the entire state is just severely unprepared to handle the conversation of data centers. A few misconceptions I've heard just sitting here today is that this is from social media usage. I promise your Facebook comment is not requiring these gigawatts of data centers to be built. We could also talk about how the Pentagon has contracted the Maven, that is AI tracking. Let's talk about our military with these data centers. That's what this is for. What is happening here is what every county has said before disaster. I don't know enough about technology, but let's let the experts come in. Please understand that companies and businesses in Reno did the exact same thing. They came in promising a certain level of energy usage, and now they have doubled that within their marketing. They came in promising 6 megawatts air-cooled cooling. Now it's doubled to 12 with closed-loop cooling. They are betting on, honestly, the government not having enough information to understand these data centers. They're going to come in here and market to you and make it seem like it's so much better than it actually is. The data center facility in Story County wants a gas pipeline without a hearing with the PUCN. That's going to be tracked. They have about 3 gigawatts of power that they want out in Story County right now. They just asked the Public Utilities Commission to not have a hearing on 350 megawatts of gas-powered power. Like, that's insane. If a data center is proposed, that's not the only thing they build. That also comes with lithium power plants. Have we all seen the news in California with all these fires they can't put out, that they're just letting burn? I mean, there's not just a data center being built with this, it's also a lot of energy infrastructure that is way too rapid. If it wasn't that bad, these data centers would educate the public. That's actually exactly what, play out in Story County. That's what Tract promised, is that we need to have the community at this table during the conversation of data centers. It's been about 2-3 years since they've been approved. Where's the education? I haven't seen a single workshop held from these companies that are out, Switch, Tract, any of them. None of them have held any educational workshop to tell the public what these things are. And what I want to leave this is, what is going to be after? What's the cleanup look like? These things are going to be super fun sites in 100 years. Like, please understand that this technology will upgrade. I love to build computers. Those graphics cards are going to need to continually be updated, and it's just a massive waste. Lastly, I just want to push for this county to have a moratorium in place. It's wonderful that you guys have no applications on the table. Wait for that legislative session. If possible, please push out until that legislative session, have the assembly discuss it, and we just need to protect our state. All of this water is connected, whether I live in Washoe County or Churchill County. All of us matter in this conversation when it comes to the state of Nevada. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Bob Sweeten. I'm an attorney that works on the development of these projects. I will submit, I'm a little starstruck to see Allison Hartman in person for the first time. It was cool to get to meet her. I watch a lot of her content. And look, I think what I've seen over the last several years is there is a lot of alignment today, more than we would think. Allison brought up something really important I didn't intend to talk about, but I do. The public workshops and public education around these things, because I am a third-generation Nevadan. For me, why I stay involved working on these projects, why I want to work on these projects, is to make sure they are done right. And the reason that we want them done correctly and we want them done in ways that are safe for the community is because the economic benefits that follow for rural Nevadans is historic. What we are seeing on projects that are moving forward in certain ways, and Allison, I'll DM her on TikTok because I do follow her. We have been holding public workshops in some of these other areas where we're doing projects, and we're listening to those concerns. I think that's critically important. I want to address some of the concerns that came up earlier. I hope I'm not pronouncing it wrong. Huck referenced the Box Elder County project in Utah, Mr. Wonderful's Shark Tank project. I've been saying for the last month that is a case study on how not to do a data center project. It's literally horrible start to finish. It's why it's kind of puttered out at this point. Didn't make sense in the first place. I want to talk to Mr. York's comment about vigilance and regulation, and that businesses, are created to make money. That is true. Also, in the state of Nevada, if they're going to come here to make money, I would submit that we can exact benefits from them, and as someone who represents them, I explain that to them. And we have to make sure that we are getting community benefits like better schools in the long run. I mean, I do this, what motivates me to do this is, it's not gonna be fast enough for my kids, but my grandkids will have better schools and better roads and better community services, and local government will be funded at a much higher level. But again, we have to listen to all of those interested and make sure that we're not doing it in the wrong way. Ms. Zellner made a number of great comments earlier. I am, in my last few seconds here, I'll just say, ambitious about solutions on this. I do think that we don't repeat mistakes of the past. We look to those projects and we figure out, with really smart people, far smarter than me, but I'm good at talking them into working with us, how do we mitigate it? How do we solve for it? And I think that Churchill County here is approaching this in absolutely the right way, getting ahead of it, starting an open community dialogue so that the problems can be solved in a smart way that does lead to long-term benefits and mitigates the risks we've heard about today. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Nona McFarland. I'm one that kind of right now has a lot of doubt about our representation. And I know Matt, I worked with him, and I thank you for what you've done and spent the time and had the courage to speak out on. I attended so many meetings on a business that was allowed to come into this community, and a rezoning that took place. And the problem is only people that live within 300 feet of where the business is going to be put gets notified. But it affected a whole area, a whole district. and it made people so sick. And it's out on the Carson Highway. And we fought and fought. We went to the EPA. It fell on deaf ears. And the revenue that it brings into the county, right now to this day, if you check to see the cost that that company has cost us as opposed to the revenue, will be in the toilet. It caught fire. Our fire department couldn't put it out. So when we're talking about bringing these kind of businesses in, I don't know if any of you have a degree in any of the background that qualifies for a decision to bring these people in, because these people are smart, they're educated, they've got money backing them, and they can tell you this is the greatest thing on the planet, and maybe, yeah, you're going to believe it until it gets put in, and then it's too late. I have 5 family members that work in the construction industry, and they're working up there at the USA Parkway in Story County. And I'm going to tell you, every night they come home, and it's a nightmare. And they're making a lot of money. But when those buildings are done, and the roads are put in, and that ground is developed, it's done. All of us, at one time or another during the day or the week, travel to Reno on I-80. You see the mess that's done there, the wrecks that are happening? They're expanding that road. Are those companies putting any money in to help pay for the widening of that road or the maintenance of the roads? It'll be the same thing that happens right here in our county. And I ask, anytime you're talking about bringing businesses in, count on us people to think that we have some common sense, some care about our community, and that if it's the right thing to do, we would support you. But if it's not, at least give us a chance to fight and have a say. Thank you.
Hello, guys. I'm Tamara Hughes.
The mic, you need to turn the microphone on.
I'm Tamara Hughes.
The mic's not on yet.
How do you?
There you go.
Okay. Hello, guys. I'm Tamara Hughes. Thank you for all you guys. Oh, well, it shows green, so I. Oh, hello? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. So, thank you for all you guys do. My job is emergency management, and I go all across the country to disasters. I see it every day. Okay? You guys say there's no applications. We are all hearing you guys today, and we are believing you. What is Basin and Range Investment? They have not put in any application for a data center? Okay. Okay. I'm here because we are low on water all across the United States. We are having severe emergencies across the United States. Churchill County needs to be prepared. The government has taken away a lot of help for you guys. So they're counting on you guys to step up more. The government's not going to be stepping up so much anymore. They're going to be helping, but not so more. They're putting it on the states and the counties and the local facilities here. We have to be prepared, you guys. These are our kids we're talking about, our water, our electric, our temperatures that are going out there. Do you guys realize that these facilities put anywhere from 16 degrees temperature range 1 to 6 miles away from the facilities? Not to mention what it does to the animals and everything else with the humming, the loud humming. The water alone is turning dirty, dark from these facilities, where people who had clean drinking water don't have no clean drinking water anymore. They've got to bathe in brown water, just so you guys know. So I'm asking you to think about our community, our people. This could be really, really bad for us. These data centers are not good. They're going up across the United States, across the world, in astronomical rates that we've never, ever saw in the history of our country, period. We don't know the health issues with this as of yet. We do know some. We do know it causes sterilization, some of the stuff that's used in these data plants. So just please do your research before allowing any of this. And if you guys do know about this basin and range investment, please come forward. Be truthful to your community. We are counting on you guys. We believe you. We are hoping for the best. We don't want no data center here. And that's all I gotta say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Jeannie Workman. I don't want to repeat all the things that have been said here today because there's a lot of stuff for you to take in. The main thing I worry about with the data centers is the uncertainty. And there is a lot of limited research, even though they've been around supposedly for 40 years. Another question that keeps running through my mind quite often about it is what happens, because like you said, the technology is changing so quickly. What happens when the technology changes and they figure out that they can put the AI or the data or whatever it is into a matchbook size thing? And then we have all these huge data centers sitting around using up water and resources. So I really appreciate that you're taking the time to make sure that you make the right decisions for the county, because like they've all said, we are depending on that, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
How's it going? Name's Dustin Palmer. One of the border properties here in Churchill County out there in Hazen, off of Bango Road. Yeah, sorry. I came here today originally to talk to you guys about like some core topics about, you know, the cost of things and the water and all this other stuff. But I'm just going to approach you as a dad and as a proud Churchill County resident. I love this community. I love that I could raise my family in a family-driven town, in a faith-driven town, and I love that about this place. But with that comes the moral responsibility. Nobody likes to talk about that nowadays, and it sounds almost conspiratorial to talk about what AI is doing on that level, but our humanity matters. Churchill County thrives, to me, in its ability to have those familial values in all we do. I see it whenever I go to town. I see it when I come to these meetings. I feel it in the room. It's what unites us, right? We have difference of opinion, but don't go tell my neighbor what to do. I'll stand up for him every bit of the way if you try to tell him how to live his life, right? With that being said, we all love data. There's no doubt. Each one of us probably have a cell phone. We love our computers. We love our internet. How many of you guys remember everybody's phone numbers? Like we used to have that stuff memorized on speed dial in our head, you know? And now think about it. It's not there. So it could be a dangerous slope. Just because we have the opportunity in our county to approach this in the future doesn't mean we have to, and it doesn't mean we should. Or what's the harm in giving a moratorium to give ourselves time to think about how we approach it, or offering the world the solution on a different approach for our community. Fallon has always prided itself on standing out and being different and making our own decision, not because the world is moving in a direction. We move in our own direction and what suits us, our families, our farms, our culture, and who we are. We have that unique opportunity, and I appreciate that you guys are actually bringing that to the table for us to at least get these items in front of us and get ahead of the game, which is unique. I think everybody else I hear talk about this, it's like too late, and we're dealing with the aftermath, and so that is very appreciated. The other thing is I do owe that to to my kids to know that I did come here and talk to you guys about this today is water is sacred here, right? Whether it's the people that have been here for thousands of years or it's our community, water is sacred to this community. And I think that's important, whether it's closed loop, whether it's, not closed loop. That doesn't matter. The environmental aspect has its concerns as well, but water is sacred, and we should never forget that.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jerry Connolly. I was more concerned about on 50, the data center that's out there, and you guys are saying it's not Churchill County. If that's the case, then the sign for Churchill County is in the wrong spot, as far as I'm concerned.
That's
That
not a
one by
data
the
center,
railroad?
that's a warehouse, distribution warehouse.
I heard it was a data center.
It's not.
How
Go
can-
ahead, though.
I don't trust. You guys don't give enough information, then you just backtracked on the zoning, and then they brought parcels, and they put an application into you guys, a data center. And you sit there and say no, and that people say you did it yesterday. You got it yesterday. So politicians
I don't
lying again.
think I'll be able to tell you anything that's going to make you think
It's just
otherwise.
politicians lying and not caring enough about their constituents.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment? There we go.
Hi, my name's Nikila Becker. I am here because of the Navy, so I am not going to be a resident forever, but I do appreciate what Churchill County offers Nevada. It's ranchers, it's rural area, it's beautiful. I see a lot of concern in the citizens here, which I think is warranted because we remember the past. We remember Teflon and the cancer that it caused its employees. We remember DuPont and the opioid addiction that it caused. We remember PG&E and the groundwater contamination. We remember the Navy has contaminated groundwater here. So I think it is so important for you guys to really think about this and to put a moratorium on data centers until we have the information that we need to move forward in a safe way for the community, not only for the people, but for the cattle here, for the wildlife here, for the vegetation here that only is here and that is so special and unique to this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead whenever you're ready. It's going to be the bottom little red button, microphone button. There you go.
Good afternoon. My name is Roshan Downs. I am a member of the Fallon-Paiute Shoshone tribe. I'm also the Cultural Resources Director for the tribe. My roots in this county run really deep from my Italian side and my Paiute and Shoshone side. I'm not here to speak on behalf of the tribe at all, but I think we are here to develop sustainable land use planning. If you look at how this valley was established, bringing the Newlands project in changed the direction of the river, and now you're looking at mercury and pesticide use, which has contaminated the waters. You look at how technology moves and those environmental impacts. You look at Sand Mountain Recreation; those are unique ecosystems just around there, and activities that we do are depleting those resources. Or geothermal with Dixie Hot Springs, a sacred site, but also affecting the use of that system. Then Navy, NDAA, 880,000 acres, and looking at all of the impacts that has on our county. And now you have lithium and all of the, rather it's the recycling center, the fires. And our county is still, and I look at these big companies that come in and they provide pie in the sky, great things, and we're going to give you a great deal because we're all fighting for those resources. But when you're looking at those resources and those jobs, even when you're looking at geothermal, we'll talk about green energy and shaving of that, but in reality, there's 15 jobs, and most of the power leaves our county. goes other places. And so, as I believe that these data centers are here, it's part of the times, it has to be responsible, but also looking at those resources. From a tribal's perspective, there are so many cultural resources that are still greatly impacted and depleted. And so when we give these tax abatements and all of these, we're not providing the resources to maintain it. And so, we just have to be smart about that. These same type of projects will come to the tribe trying to find ways, and we all have the same thing. We have to do, economic development for our communities. But, really looking at all of it and sustainable development. And from a tribal side, it's pretty disheartening when I look at all the impacts to cultural resources. And it's not just the stones and the bones, but you're looking at the plants and the animals and how those really impact. So even if these areas are out in, some people say out in the boondocks, it's still beautiful. I mean, Nevada is not a wasteland, Churchill County is not a wasteland, and we do not have wasteland here. Our people have survived here over 12,000 years, living here continuously, and it is because of the resources and the beauty of it. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to go.
I'm not a public speaker, so I get nervous. I'm Evie Channon. I looked up on the internet why was Nevada chosen as a site. They want a place that has cool climate because they use cooling fans and a lot of energy to cool. We don't have a cool climate. They want low earthquake risk, and I'll remind you we had a 4.5 earthquake on June 13th. They wanted abundant water supply because they're one of the top 10 industrial water users. I have irrigated land, and when there's not enough water, I get 80%, and I remember one year I think we got 50%. So they can buy all the water rights they want, but if we don't have the water, then it has to come from somewhere. I'm very much into the environment and regulations and very unhappy that the Trump administration has taken those away, especially now if we're talking about data centers, because it will have a big impact on the environment. And we should all, I don't care which political party you're from, we should all care about the environment. And I guess that's all I wanted to say. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Everybody's covered the climate. Everybody's covered what.
If you could state your name for the record for us.
Oh, sorry. My name is Rex Barnett. The two biggest things I don't think that are covered, and it kind of concerned me. I wasn't going to talk until I saw an attorney and a county commissioner come here. We all know the revenue it brings in, but we don't know what it does to people. You know what I mean? And there's not enough data. Nobody's covering it. They're saying, "Hey, you guys go it yourself." And I get it. I use technology. I understand where you're coming from. I'm not going to lie and say I wasn't on my phone before I walked up here. Like, I'm not here to lie about it. And even though I don't support data centers, I've got nothing to do with Story County. I don't pay taxes there. I should have no rights to what they do, right? But here is different. I'm obviously, I own a house. This is very involved in the community. From coming overseas, this was the most ideal place for me and my family, small town culture. But until we know the health impact and our constitutional rights, like what are these things doing? We're so concerned about the environment, like what are they doing as well? Nobody knows. Like we know general answers, we know what Google tells us, right? But we don't really know. So that's all I wanted to cover real quick is just say, hey, let's throttle back a little bit. Personally, I don't want them in this area until we get those answers, and I would ask that we just hold off just till we see in general. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, we'll turn it back over to us. I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
I do. A lot of concerns that the community have, I have as well. When we talk about technology moving, I worked at CC Community communications for a long time. And everybody knows the old dial-up internet. And then we had the really slow DSL, and we thought that was great. And it just keeps moving. Now, when I was doing the research on this stuff, now they're talking about putting data centers in outer space. So they're already talking about that. So I see those same concerns. Like, so we're just going to have empty buildings. I would say that I'm not sure. I would say that I don't think it's true whatever they said and told somebody about that. I think they're here because tax abatements. I don't think it's because it's a cool climate. And that's why this commission wants to push to get rid of tax abatements. I want to clarify the power. There's a reason I want them to provide their own power. Because when you talk about what it takes to power one of those, it's pretty tough to do. So that's why I'm saying, oh, they got to have their own power, because it's pretty tough to power their own data centers. Same concerns with water use. Those will all be there. And I just want to reiterate, this is in its brainstorming. And I don't think, I believe this can be for action. I'd like to hear from my other commissioners. The uncertainty, which I mentioned earlier, I don't even know what these AI data centers are going to be doing, and nobody can tell me. So I get that. I feel that. I'm not uncertain about it. I'm certain I don't like it, because nobody will tell you what they're going to be used for. It's an odd thing. And I hear you can go online and then what's true and what isn't. And you can check the source, and then we do, trust us. I do a lot of research, but I understand everybody's concerns, and I think we've got a lot of work to do before we make any decision whether we want them or not. I wanted to clarify one thing. Actually, I-3, I believe, is already zoned for data.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't get added. And I'll keep going over my notes here, and then I'll let you guys.
I guess where I just want to jump in at is that, we're your neighbors. Like, I'm waving to Estelle back there. She lives 2 doors down from me. She frequently has to get my goats out of the road and stuff like that. I mean, we're your neighbors. We care about Fallon just as much as you guys do. I love Fallon. I've always said, that's not great. I've always said when I pass away, I want to be like chopped up into little pieces and put into a planter and planted in my great-grandparents' field. I love Fallon. I have my best interest for Fallon. And that's why we're having this. And again, to answer your question, and Wade can correct me if I'm wrong, we can't take action on this. This is informational only, both of these agenda items, which the next one's a separate issue, but these are both informational items. To get feedback from you guys, to get our thoughts out on the record, to get your thoughts on the record, that's what this meeting is about. And we've heard you. I've got this giant list. My hand is cramped up on this one side of all these different issues. And when I get home, I'm going to go through it and make a little tally system of noise, water, environmental, cultural. I'll make a whole entire little tally list. And when we have another meeting to do, to talk about this, then all of those things go into my head, and then they come back out, and we have another meeting about this. So that's my thoughts on this.
My point is, I just want to make sure we have plenty of time.
Yeah, we got to get the ball rolling on this, because as we all know, it's been around for a long time, but we haven't seen this huge influx, this rapid pace growth of data centers. I mean, this is, hypothetically speaking, the past 2 years.
Yeah, I don't.
So we got to get on this and start to address
driven, and
this.
I don't know why they're
And that's, again, why
driving
we're
it.
having this meeting. Go ahead, Commissioner Blakey.
I don't think there's much left to be said. I mean, I want to make sure the public knows that this commission is definitely concerned with what data centers brings to our community, the livelihood of our community, the risk it brings, the abuse of our land, water and drought concerns. This commission is definitely worried about that. We're definitely worried about wildlife concerns. We've heard that today. On a county level, you know, I think this is a starting point for us to guide staff to find out the details that we need if we did have to move forward, or if we did have to do something. Staff is ahead of the game and finding out what's the best process, and maybe collaborating with our regional partners as much as possible to look into that kind of stuff. Definitely, we have to protect the property rights of every owner in this county. That's a part of our duty. Speaking like on a data center, you know, definitely energy independent is definitely there. Closed loop systems, if there's water involved, you know, maybe they're all refrigerated, which means no water except for bathroom or sink. Noise pollution, we've heard you today. And one thing that stood out to me the most on my list is sustainable development. That stood out to me largely. And then we also, we will have the, you know, there's a concern been mentioned by Commissioner Hyde, I believe, that if they do vacate the property, I think that this county would put something in place to abate that property should someone leave, and not leave it just standing there if it's not usable. There's a certain amount of uncertainty. And I guess another question that stood out to me that I think would settle a lot of thoughts to our community is the purpose of the data center. You know, maybe we need to know that. Maybe that'll put the ease to our citizens if we knew that. So, like I said, today is a fact-finding mission. I'm hoping staff is listening, and I hope that they're taking away what we're taking away. I don't think we can give any direction today. We're just talking about it, but their wheels are turning. Our wheels are turning. The community's wheels are definitely turning, and we appreciate you being here today and voicing your concerns for or against. And I just think that there's a lot more work to be done. I don't think any quick decisions are warranted at this point. I don't think we need to be making any decisions on emotion. We need to be making them on facts. And we just need to get to the root of everything. And so I think we've started really well today with public engagement, and I'm sure we'll have future public engagement.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to piggyback on what he said, is that I love that you guys are here. I've been a commissioner, this is my 4th year now. I've been a commissioner, so 3.5 years. And the one thing, whenever I talk to the community and the public about what is going on, my one biggest thing that I always say is I really wish my community would be more involved. This is like the biggest turnout I've seen, I think, since I became a commissioner. I love hearing from you. And further, so we got the letters that are in the agenda packet. I received 2 phone calls from constituents. Neither one of them called me back. So I didn't talk to anyone before this meeting. I would have loved to, but I didn't hear from you guys. So take my number, it's online. So anyway, go ahead, Commissioner Hyde.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, email us if you have.
You're gonna have to use a mic. You'll have to use a microphone if you want to speak. Just that little red button at the red microphone button. Nope, it's not on yet. There you go.
Can't see.
Nope, you heard. It's on right now.
Okay. Can you have one of these meetings like at 5 or 6 in the evening so all of the people that work can come and...
That's been brought to our attention before. The reason why, if you guys could stop clapping so I could talk to her. The reason why we don't do that is that staffing wise, it takes a lot. It takes an army to put on one of these meetings. And so that's extra county dollars after hours that we have to pay for. But that's to answer your question, and I'll leave it at that.
So how do we make that happen? Do you need another army?
We'd have to talk, that's a whole entire another conversation that we'd have to have. But we listen to you, so we're here
Okay.
for you. Go ahead, Commissioner Hyde.
Yeah. I want to say that I would like to look at our next meeting, we need to look at scheduling another meeting for this so that we can all stay informed with progress. And
I think, did you put a date on that, like when you wanted to do something? Or should we wait and let staff gather some thoughts?
I would say wait and let the staff direct some staff, and then at maybe our next commission meeting.
Set a date.
Set a date.
Okay. Do you think you guys want to, or Mr. Sanford, maybe you can speak to this. Maybe I should not ask the question. But can you review what it would cost if we held a 2-hour meeting after work, or what it would take for a 4-hour meeting, what that cost would be incurred? Is that something that's easy identifiable?
I'm not, I guess, I'm not so much concerned about the cost. I'm concerned about people with children and people with getting everybody scheduled to work. So I think that's a bigger issue to me, than the cost of having them.
Mr. Chair, I'll just say that we have held after-hours meetings before, and I know that the staff has always been willing to do that just to meet the needs of the community. It is, again, it is a burden, so we don't typically do it on every meeting, but if the commission were to ask, absolutely, we would do so. I know this is an important issue, and so it can be done at the commission's pleasure. I do have a couple other, I guess, pieces I would like to address because they've been brought up, and I think there's some potential confusion. First is an item was brought up related to a zone change for Basin and Range. That was a zone change application. They are a company that works on data-related functions, but we have not received an application for an actual use on any of those properties, and that is what was being represented today. Second, I would like to inform everybody so that we can be transparent that data centers are in our use table right now. We've heard discussion that these have been around for 30 to 40 years. And so they have been considered and are within our use table. The difference is, we can all see that this technology has changed. The type of use is changing. The scope of use is changing. And so part of the discussion today and the reason for today's meeting is to determine maybe we should really take an action to review what we currently allow with the idea that, look, maybe we should change the parameters of that. And I think that was, based off today's conversation, I have a lot of notes relating to, what exactly do we mean by when we say data center, right? Because obviously storing data is something that every office that has computers stores data. But that's not really what we mean by a data center, right? And what I believe our community is appropriately concerned about is the massive data centers that we're looking at with, Box County was brought up, but they range. They range from a relatively small size to massive sizes. And having a definition in terms of what we mean when we're concerned and what we want to define a data center to be is something that is maybe different today than it was even just 2 years ago when we were looking at the industrial zoning. And, so we may have answered this question related to data centers 2 years ago before the AI craze happened. I know that seems relatively short, but before that happened, and we may have thought, oh, this is perfectly legitimate in the I-1, I-2, I-3 zones. And we may look at that today and say, we don't want that there. And so that's the type of information we're receiving from the public as well as the board today to bring back to you. Other than that, obviously, there's a lot of notes related to water usage, environmental effects, on-site power versus off-site power, and reclamation of facilities. And so those are all things that staff will be looking at and bringing back to you for a determination in terms of what type of regulations you may want to impose.
Thank you, Joe. That's a lot of clarity there. Anything else from board or staff? I think we got a lot of public feedback. Ma'am, you already used your public time, sorry. Ma'am, you've already used your public time. I'm sorry. You can ask one of us individually or our interim county manager after the fact, but as of right now, for public wise, this is be over. So anything else from board or staff? Okay. No, there's not, ma'am. There's the last public comment at the very, very end if you want to use that time. So we'll move to 5B, consideration and possible action, review and discussion regarding connection fees for new structures and permitting processes. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I know all these folks are here for some other things, but this is actually a completely separate item. Our commission has previously discussed an intent to have some consideration about handling of water connection fees, dedication fees, and things like that as it relates to residential development here in Churchill County. This item was added, I believe, to have a little discussion, especially in relation to that. At our last conversations, we had determined that the county was going to seek input from the state engineer as to a reduction in the amount of water that's required to be dedicated for single and multifamily usage for residential development here in Churchill County. And at that time, the decision was made that we would wait until receiving information from the state engineer to decide whether we wanted to take action to reduce our connection fees or adjusted connection fees. That does add potentially 2 to 3 months after we receive word from the state engineer when we decide to take action. If that is the continued plan, we would continue that way. If the board wants to move a different direction, we can discuss that now.
In my opinion, we should continue moving towards that direction of working with the state engineer's office. Your guys' thoughts, opinions?
I would like to give some direction to staff to start working on a couple of different options to reduce the connection fees for our structures and to see where that's going to lie and see if it's even plausible. And if it is plausible, then give us a couple options to choose from the model that we would like to help spur development, because remember, that's why we're looking at the water dedication, is to spur development. And to Mr. Sanford, if we come back and we like the water dedication being lowered, and then now we want to talk about the connection fees, then we would wait longer, because I think they should coincide with each other and implement them at the same time. So when a developer comes to get a permit, or a contractor comes to get a permit, then the county has done everything we can do, and we don't have anything else to address to spur development.
Well, I think you just want to do one thing at a time, though. Just start off with the water dedication fee, or not, water dedication fee, or how much water you have to bring to the table. See what that does. And I know we need, affordable housing and stuff like that. But by just doing one step at a time and seeing what that affects, you're not just slashing a bunch of things in the hopes that it takes off.
Well, first of all, we're talking about two different things, and point to that is I'm trying to get this moving forward to see if it's even an option. So like now when it comes back to the water dedication, we can make a decision on both of those at the same time. I'm not saying that we're going to move forward and do it today. I'm saying let's see what it looks like so we can have the overall picture so we can make the best decision. That's where I'm at.
I see where you're coming from, so then you could cherry pick which one you wanted to do.
Maybe we do connection fees and not water. Maybe we do, but maybe we want to do both because we need revenue. We identified that in our budget hearings. So
I get what you're saying, Eric, and I agree with you. So I think we can direct staff to look at that and see what we can do with it.
Now, if that's the case, are we just looking at, that, what about Parks and Rec fee? Or should we evaluate everything?
I'd like to see,
or just the water dedication fee and?
I think this is
well,
just
this
concerning.
is,
just
connection
the
fees.
Just the water.
Yeah.
It's connection to a new home for water, a connection to a new home for sewer. That's the two connection fees that we're talking about.
Those are the two I'm talking about.
Yeah, and
that works for me.
Most of the building permit fees, they're sort of just standard. They are what they are due to the size of the home. Yeah. So we don't need to address any of that. But those are the three things that we can address to see if they are aligned with our goals to spur development.
I'm on board with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've received that direction. I don't believe a motion is necessary.
Perfect. We'll move to agenda item number 6, consider future agenda items. Is there anything someone would like to consider for future agenda item at this time?
Does that need to be what Commissioner Hyde was saying about scheduling? Does he need to put that there?
He could, or he could wait till the next meeting, up to him.
I think we can put it on there as an agenda item. It won't
So
be
that-
till the next meeting or maybe even the next, I don't.
It'd probably be the next, because we're gonna need some time to get that all together, so. It'd
Are
be
you talking
July.
about the July 2nd Board of
Oh,
Commissioners
yeah, we
meeting?
canceled the July 15th one.
So it'd be.
It's up to you.
Whenever they're ready.
Whenever they're ready, as soon as they're. ready
Mr. Chair, I'm going to
bring it
expect
back.
that to be the first meeting in August, based off of the schedule, the second meeting in July being canceled. To have something placed on the agenda for the first meeting in July, we're supposed to, I think, have most of those docs ready to go in the next couple of days, and that just isn't likely to occur to give you the amount of information that you deserve.
So it'll be the first meeting in August then,
So
Tara?
that would be August 6th.
Yep, that's perfect.
Can I just say one more thing? I would encourage you to write your legislators about tax abatements and get in their ear. Because I firmly believe that's why Nevada's being targeted. So
And that's something that we've been going after for
we've
years.
been
And
working at it, so.
we're a small rural county, you know, it's been years upon years of whether it be solar projects, wind projects, all of these things get tax abatements, and the actual rural community doesn't get to see any of the benefit of those taxes. And so we need to get out there, and you need to call them, write them, whatever you gotta do, just do it, please. With that, this is our last time for public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you all for being here.